Um,
Afternoon,
Afternoon, David.
Good afternoon.
Melissa is not
Not
here.
here.
Richard,
Richard,
Yeah.
join
join
us.
us.
I
I
really
really
expect.
expect.
Yeah, Sue.
And
And
happy to
happy
be
to be
here
here
and
and
explain,
explain,
yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is
That is
along
along
the
the
Calypso
Calypso
community.
community.
And who
Yes.
And who
doesn't
doesn't
remember
remember
Lauren?
Lauren?
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
signature
and
song.
the
And the
second
second
version
version
of
of
it.
it.
Yeah, Bungie.
The
The
second
second
version of
version
it.
of
I
it. I
mean,
mean,
it
it
was
was
really
really
one of
one of
his
his
real
real
iconic
iconic
hits.
hits.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
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 So we
So
have
we
so
have
much is happening. I don't know if you like one of the reasons I was a few minutes off was because someone had called me, a lawyer had called me
Yeah.
and was very upset. And I have to confess that I was mixing up the word that he was saying.
Mhm.
Eventually, I understood what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I went and I read the article, which was, I think, published about 3 hours ago about Ramdeen and Ram Lugan, the charges against them being dismissed.
Hmm.
You read that, right?
No, I'm not hearing about it.
Well, there you go. Let me just hold on. Yes, because it's such fresh news
Yeah.
that I think also too, you'll have to forgive me if I come across as well, politics makes you a little bit what shall I say? Expect anything. So that's going to dominate the front page, not the nomination. It's going to kick it off the front page.
Hmm.
But what it is essentially is that he had been charged. He and Anand Ramlugan and Jad Ramdeen had been charged with corruption
Yeah.
and and misbehaving public office. That's with Anand Ramlugan for accepting money from Nelson for reward for state briefs.
Mm-hmm.
And that Nelson turned so that it said that he conspired with Randim to receive, conceal, and transfer criminal property, which represented corrupt rewards given to him by Nelson for the state briefs to which he had been awarded. And of course, in 2020, Nelson pleaded guilty and said that there was a kickback scheme, and he was ordered to pay by way of restitution $2.25 million. And as part of the deal for the state not prosecuting him, because of obviously he's part and parcel of this whole kickback scheme, he giving part of the returns of the money that he was going to receive from this state for briefs. He was going to pay that to Ramdeen and Anand. As part of this agreement, he agreed to testify and turn state witness against Ramlugan and Ramdeen. So that was where it stood up to a few hours ago, that we knew of. So, maybe the state knew about it a little longer than we did, because one of the things, which is, it's strategy, and, sometimes you can't take things as personally. I'm not saying it's right. I obviously don't. Hi, Richard. I'm talking about the issue with Ramlugan and Ramdi.
Yeah, no, I was hearing, I was on.
Okay, so a lawyer friend of mine is how I found out, really. He called me up. He was in a rage. He was enraged about it. And at first, I wasn't understanding what he was saying, but eventually it became clear. And of course, we all have our theories. From one perspective, they may have known that this was going to happen some days ago, but they were being, let us say, using the nomination day to kick that off the front page and make that the main story. Because I very much doubt that this happened a few hours ago. I suspect this was done maybe over a few days ago, but they wanted it to reach the media at the right time. That's just one theory. But coming back to the reasoning now, the reason why it has reached this, which I'm trying to unravel it, and we are still trying to unravel it, is that part of the agreement for Nelson to turn state witness was not only to pay the 2.25 million, but also to indemnify him, I think, against any further public disclosure in the United Kingdom regarding the matter, because, now you call him a King's Counsel. so that there would be some indemnity arrangement, which I'm not quite sure how it operated and what it covered. So let me just be clear about that. But the bottom line is this. That agreement was entered into when Faris Al-Rawi was Attorney General. And for reasons best known to them, because I don't think, although the Minister of everything, I'm not sure he's ever been Attorney General. Maybe that missed me. But I think he's been Minister of a lot of things, but I'm not sure he's ever been Attorney General. But in any event, it is understood.
I think he may have acted at some time. I think he would have acted.
He may have acted? Okay.
He may have, yeah.
Okay. So,
I don't want him to lose the names Gary Sober's minister.
Right. So he will never in a substantive post was he ever Attorney General.
No.
Okay, so that's important because he was not the one that entered into this. But of course, he's a member of cabinet and an attorney at law, as is Faris Al-Rawi, minister, and so they would understand the implications. But apparently, in breach of that agreement, he broke the indemnity agreement not to disclose certain information. And I mean, I don't have the whole story, as you understand, it's now broken, but it all centers around breach of that indemnity agreement. And based on that, he is saying that, as Nelson is saying, the state now owes him, he's bringing a civil claim against the state for breach of the disclosing that indemnity agreement, which apparently Minister Stuart Young, when he was in England at some point in time, disclosed. And I don't know how it came to his attention, but however, because right now it's very current news. So right now, I understand the DPP, because of that breach of that indemnity clause, has decided to drop the charges against Anand Ramlogan and Gerald Ramdeen for misbehaving in public office, but essentially for getting into conspiracy with Mr. Nelson, that when he was awarded briefs, that part of the briefs would be paid to Mr. Ramdeen and Mr. Ramlogan. Those cases apparently have been dropped by the DPP. That's the headline. I got it from the Newsday. It just hit the news cycle about 3 hours ago. So they didn't go into any detail. It just said, this is the heading, because it's a very new heading. Charges against Ramlogan Ramdeen dropped and 3 hours ago. So it's very new. So that's the state of play right now. So now that Mr. Ramdeen and Mr. Ramlogan, thanks, I have to say, to Stuart Young, if I am to understand how it played out. Stuart Young has made sure that their matters will not be pursued because the DPP has come to the conclusion that he has no basis. That's what I know now. So nothing, this is not, but you know what? Be careful at this point in time, because as a lawyer, I always say, be careful about passing judgment unless you know all the facts. But what has been disclosed in the papers, a thing that makes you go, That's what I'll say. Something that makes you go, I'm not hearing you, Roger. I mean, Richard, I'm not hearing you.
Roger.
But don't worry about that. Now, Roger's my brother, Richard is my brother. Be thankful. You want to be back and all. You know what happened to you? Because you think I have Roger Boynes on my mind. You think I have Roger Boynes on my mind. Come out and say it. Come on, free up yourself. Let's get back to what we really want to talk about.
Microphone problems.
You know who said that? No, let me be honest. It is not that I had my brother in mind. It really probably was a Freudian slip. And clearly, being told, but I want to say before you say anything, I told my team long time, I said, let me tell you something. You always have to be prepared for the element of surprise. And you never, ever let your guard down, not in politics. Don't you ever think it's over until Friday thing. So I told them before that at the very last minute that you're going to get someone else coming in for the position of the political leader. I told them that. I said that to them about 2 or 3 days ago. I said, prepare yourself. Now, I called the wrong name because we did some sort of analyzing whether that person would be, was there more to lose? You know, because it's a surprising the kinds of arrangements. What you say, as I say, politics makes strange bedfellows. So you can, what the idea is, the basic idea would be, perhaps that person was not the person they had in mind. The person they had in mind weighed his or her options there, and if they're not going to do it, but the idea behind it is to try to split the votes. If they felt that I presented a real and present danger to the leadership, the idea was to come with the element of surprise at the last minute. But I want to tell them right now, I'm not surprised. I called it at least 2 days ago because I knew what I was dealing with. I knew the kind of people I was dealing with. I knew their mindset. And I told them, I said, you sit down there and don't understand who and what you are dealing with. You are fooling yourself. I am letting you know. I said, I looked at the picture of the Prime Minister in Mahika, looking calm and cool and collected. And I said to them, they're going to drop it, and they're going to drop it at the last minute. I swear to God is my maker. I said they're going to drop it at the last minute, unexpectedly, and not for me, because I knew the kind of people, the character of the people that we were dealing with. That is the truth. I knew what they were capable of. And that is a sad indictment. That is a sad indictment for me to say that, and to say that the reason they did it was not transparency, not accountability, not to be partnership, but to come and see, to throw me off guard and say, we got to. No, you did not. I called it a long time because I knew who I was dealing with. That's the truth, Richard. I knew who I was dealing with.
Yeah. I believe you. I believe you.
Yeah,
but there may be an next way to look at it. I do believe you. Yeah. The next way to look at it, you don't think Boynes believe he could win?
That's not the point. Let me just say this. I think people let me just say this. The unpopularity. Now, first of all, I am not going up in national elections. I have made it very clear to people. I wish they would stop saying I'm challenging. How am I challenging? I'm not challenging for.
Remember the party, it's vacant. That's why it's open, and you have the right to run for it, and you run
it first. Not only that. If you have to build a good house, it has to have a good foundation. Yes. And therefore, if you have persons who are willing to make that, get an opportunity to offer their services at a time when the party
help the party move forward.
Not even a sacrifice. So to put themselves forward.
They always say so. They always say so. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just say, the coal pot, the bicycle, and what you do on the road at 8 o'clock in the night? What you do on the road at 8 o'clock at night? Let us just say it is very reminiscent of, as I told you, Versailles and Marie Antoinette let them eat cake. So the disconnect. So they recognized that was posing an issue for them. And what I think they want to know is they want to have total control of the party and how the party operates, and what goes on and what shouldn't go on and what should go on. And the idea of putting in Roger Boynes at the last moment, wish they could have found a woman. I think a woman would have been a better challenge, I think, because this is really, people are looking for a breath of fresh air and to see that, but clearly they could not persuade, or the persons could not be persuaded to throw their hat in the ring for that. So I think Roger Boynes is a distraction, and I think Roger Boynes is seen as part, no offense to Roger Boynes, but part of the problem with Trinidad is this old boys network, and it's keeping the old boys network alive. And the people know what I'm talking about, So putting him in there, I don't know. I really don't know. It's too early. It just happened. How can I tell what kind of money they're going to push behind him, what story he's going to tell, besides for many of them, the hatred of Patrick Mann, usually the hatred of a leader often is enough to make people put their hands on. I hate, you know something? I hate Rowdy, and that's why I want to support you. And you know, I hate Patrick, that's why. So that kind of thing doesn't make me feel good. I want people who want to do good for the country. So I can't be in judgment of Roger Boynes as to what he would bring to the table. I do know it didn't happen suddenly. I do know it was planned. He may not have been their first choice, but there was going to be somebody. And I called it long time. So it just goes to show, in my respectful opinion, you know, and everybody's entitled to put themselves forward, but certainly not that way. Would you not think if you stand for transparency and accountability, is it not the right way to put the lineup, especially for the political leadership, and not need literally the 11th hour to bring that person in? It just smacks of the kind of concerns people have moving forward about the leadership of the government. And when you see that reflected and reverberated in the way that they have the announcement comes at the 11th hour, that was not an 11th hour decision. That was made long time ago. It was intended to whatever it intended it to do. I don't know, yeah, split votes, yeah, but I don't think that's the person they had in mind to split votes. There's somebody much better able to split votes. So I have a feeling, and we know who that person is, and the whole country knows. I mean, if you're in the party, who knows who that person is. So I don't know why that person is not there, but so I don't know to what extent. I can't say the extent to which he can split vote because it seems to be more of the old, but it's too early to tell. But at least one of the objectives was to have that element of surprise. And what I'm saying is it is consistent in the way that the government, it seeps into the party, the way the party conducts its business, in the sense that there's no openness, there's no, listen, these are the people going up. This is the time that you have to register for. This is how long it will take. This is the process. This is the what is involved in the procedure. This is why it's going to take 9 days, which is no good explanation, but that. This is how we're going to store it. You unto yourself, storing unto yourself, as opposed to independent body. You know, all of these things just do not, to me, do not help to the party's image and recovering from the disconnect that it has with the suffering and the feeling of the man in the street. That's what I think.
All right. For me,
yeah,
I see it as good news for you, Karen.
So I was told.
Party in the race, because you just said something there that I was thinking about. Boynes, they've been around for some time. Whichever Boynes it is running. Roger,
I think that's why Roger came out my mouth.
yeah. I don't think it's Roger. I think it's
not Roger. Brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But my thinking is, those Boynes, they have a good name, good track record. They've been around for some time, but they have been out of the, the spotlight for so long. They have not been making contributions on matters. No one knows what they represent now, what they stand for. You can't just come in at this time and people say, yeah, a Boynes, notwithstanding however good the name was before. You'd want somebody who was there fighting and, you know what I mean, showing what they could do over the time. And they certainly have not done that. So if he has to attract any votes, it will come from Dr. Rowley's side. Because Dr. Rowley has been there all the time, yes, but he has brought nothing new to the table. Sometimes it surprises me that he sometimes comes across as though he is not on the platform either. And sometimes he's shocked, you know, like, wait, I am the guy, because he speaks sometimes as though it has nothing to do with him. You know, like somebody just ejected him and say something and he start cussing the government of which he leaded him. So he surprises me.
That's a strategy, though. You mustn't never underestimate. It is true that what may come out of a strategy, I might be giving too much credit because maybe I'm giving him too much credit that he would have strategized that way. But part of it is not taking responsibility. And a lot of people.
That's it.
Yeah, but you see, that's a good strategy sometimes because the world likes a scapegoat. I was told in biblical times, I don't know if I get the story right, but apparently you might know it better than I, the Old Testament, when they would take a goat and send it out of the village, but it was really to atone for the sins. So the scapegoat, the goat was the representative for the atonement for the sins of the residents. So that is where the term scapegoat came. And we all, the reality is when things go wrong, it is something almost a reflex action in human beings, not to take responsibility, but to find somebody to blame. So, it may be reflex on his part, and it may be reflex combined with strategy on his part because he doesn't have an answer. So you're not going to take responsibility. Yeah.
And I'm saying that arrangement fits in to your run perfectly. Because while it might be a strategy for him, and people may like the scapegoat and so on, I don't think the youngsters in this country today connect with that type of thinking, What they know is what they're feeling. And they're not feeling good. And they don't know boys. And you have been on the platform and talking and all media people hearing you, and you are Minister of Finance, and you've been allowing yourself and you have been highlighting how better could be done for the poor people and so on and so on. So I believe he may split votes, but he might split Dr. Rowley's votes, how many ever there may be, which to me may make things better for you. So be happy about that. You see, sometimes
that's what someone said to me. Said to me. The person said, to be very honest, they said to me, we don't know what's going to happen. We wish we don't have a Christmas. And in politics, a day is a lifetime. We know that, So we understand. It happens all the time. If you read Julius Caesar, the story of Jesus Christ, 1 minute he's coming in on Palm Sunday on his donkey, and he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And the next thing is crucify him. And then you read Julius Caesar, those things will remain relevant to us because to Bute, but that was when he went into the, where they go to do their voting. Yeah, but that to Bute, to Bute comes in with, that's where you have been a Judas, where you have betrayed your friend. But what I'm saying with Julius Caesar, there's a famous speech.
Expect that from him. Yeah.
A famous speech where after the whole crowd had condemned Julius Caesar, they said, "You have come to praise. We have come to praise you, not to bury him. The good a man does is interred with his body." I must find out the quotation, but what it did is turned around the crowd again. And what it means is that you don't count you in politics. Politics is a very, very dynamic thing. And in my estimation, based on the current, what you read about in the current administration and what you've seen for yourself, never underestimate what they are sitting down and, planning and coming up with. And you have to also remember what Pandey had said, where he said that politics has a morality of its own. And sometimes, from being in politics for the time I was, sometimes when something doesn't make sense, it really doesn't make sense, but it doesn't make sense, but you're not going to know why it doesn't make sense. And often the reason it doesn't make sense is never a good reason. It's never, ever a good reason. It's never, ever a good reason. Sometimes people take positions. You see that with what's going on with Trump and how many of them turned on him. How much Judases, how many A2 Buddhas you had there. So sometimes people, it's the question of survival. It's the question of carrot or stick. You never know what someone has on you. And they might say to you, you play ball with us and you will get X, Y, and Z. You are in the business of this. we don't really want you to think, but if you play ball with us, this is how we would reward you. But then again, if you don't play ball with us, then you're going to find out how suddenly your businesses start to dry up. So you never know what is going on behind it, but usually it's never a good thing. And that is what we have been confronted with the politics of Trinidad and Tobago for many years now, and we need to bring a change. I mean, people are really want change, you know. There's no question about it, you know. I mean, Richard, I don't know if you agree. Notice I didn't call you Roger. You do, you.
No, you always call me Richard. You never call me Roger. Never.
I never call you Daddy Mark David.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I felt when I now started the show.
Yeah. I remember.
I had a feeling I used to say Roger, and he corrected me and told me his name was Richard.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, David. And I don't have a contract offer you.
Why you want to repeat?
Thank you. Thank you, David.
To that under the wrong fair. Come on.
Anyway, but David, you know, I would love your voice on this because I know you are not only from the South. South, you know, I love the South. There's no that I'm not lying. You know, I love the South. I mean, if your formative years, were in the Southland, and remember in those days they didn't have highways, you know. So when you leave in Point 14 to say you're going in Port of Spain, it's 3 hours at least you're talking about, you know, and talk about bad road.
Yeah.
When you reach La Brea, and every week they fixing that road, and the road swaying from side to side to side to side until they reach by the playing field, and then it starts to get a little easier, right? And then you're going down Mosquito Creek and hoping it didn't flood, and you reach it in San Fernando. And San Fernando, if you want to play, in those days when I was there was Woolworth and all those places, and you know the corn dog. I think it is who brought in the corn dog was our local chicken and chips place. They were known for their corn. Everybody was eating corn dog. So you have to understand, my neighbor string in a way is really buried in a way in South. I'm sorry to say that, but it is really true. I really feel an affinity. I love Port of Spain, but I have to say I have a little you know, I can't help it. It was where the Karen was really started to grow. You know? Yeah. And you know I talking the truth, Guapo. Guapo. And then you're going to church. In those days, saying mass in Latin. And you have to put on a mantilla on your head. Right? To go to church. Well, I don't know you're Roman Catholic and you're going to church. And then they had the church right after the market. The Roman Catholic Church, right? And you're going to church, you're coming, it's still right. And you pass the roundabout, which Trans Cinema used to be around there. And if you went, as if you're going out of Port of Point 14, Battle used to be there. You understand? And David, is that a person who lived in the South? And my brothers were very naughty, very naughty, because in those days you had house and you had pit. And in those days, it was cowboy movies all the time. And like them young men used to think they would either the cowboys or the Indians. Because at a certain time, if they didn't like so my brothers told me, my mother wouldn't let me go. But so my brothers told me, if the show wasn't going on, they wanted bottle it right straight. Am I right or not?
That's true.
Yes, they get in Bexy. You would swear in the movie. They're taking bottle and pelting it in the screen.
I remember that.
And if you're in balcony, you reach a balcony, you really have money to reach a balcony. Okay, so those are my memories.
I went to cinema in those days as a child. But I could have always only afford pit.
But excuse me, my parents would not allow their daughters to go in pit. Because
I understand that.
Pit got their name for good reason.
You always grew for convent and beyond. They couldn't.
No.
They had been pit. I used to watch the screen straight up. I was right underneath the screen.
Because you were in pit.
Your head backwards. You're in pit, yeah.
And when you should be in school.
When you come back out, you have a reverse stiff neck, you know.
And when you're supposed to be in school, 12:30, good 12:30 pitch thing. When you're supposed to be in school, and you're not in school, but you're there in pit, if they could have gone to a rounds up during 12:30, what time you have the midday show? And you know how much students they would have found inside of there?
Yeah, 12:30 they call it. Yeah.
Including my brothers, I must say.
Karen, the
So anyway, under that talk, the talk was to say, huh?
They rungs up the theater, the people in the theater.
Yeah, and all of the school boys, you know.
In
and right now, they're smoking Broadway cigarettes, eh? Smoking the Broadway cigarettes. That time you're in real trouble if you get caught smoking cigarettes, you know. And me, I was Miss Telltale, you know. Running home. Say, Daddy, so and so, I saw so and so smoking Broadway. This time my father smoking Benson and Hedges, eh? And I find he didn't take me, and you know what hurt me? He didn't take me on. I started with rules to get those boys in trouble. And I come in to say, you know, so and so sitting down in the club bar and he there smoking Broadway cigarettes. And I say, well, now we getting in trouble. And my father didn't do one darn thing. I was so disappointed.
But he'd have straightened out his gills.
Huh? Oh, the girls didn't give trouble. We girls, no. We girls didn't give trouble. We stay home. We stay home and go to church Sunday.
Before we jump off the cinema thing, yeah.
No.
I remember as you were saying that the rungs up, you know, if they had made a rungs up in the cinema in Ritz and Battery, you knew Ritz?
No, not really. I'm from South. Did you don't hear me say I'm from South?
You must have gone up and down.
Okay, I may have seen it, but how many days of 3 hours to go down?
Karen, so you know about it. Well, that's in what they call Ritz. Yes.
A fancy name.
That's in what they call Ritz. Back then. It had some problems, you know.
So you part of it, tell the truth now. You know you're big now.
No, I'm telling you, I was about 9. The last time I went to that, I was about 9 years of age. But I'm telling you, it had a movie that came out called The Car. Remember that? A car that was driving around and killing people.
Oh God, that's ready from after my time. I know it. I know the movie. Movie, but I was thinking of the Django.
Yeah.
It was a wicked car that was like a devil possessed operating car.
Yeah, I know of it. I know what
you know about that, right?
Yeah.
But I think 18 years and over, Karen. Now when in the movie, you see the intro, but when the movie finally came out, it interests everybody. I go and line up to see the movie 18 years and over, I think it was. I said, come on. You're crazy. I was about 9, eh?
Yeah.
So when the crowd realized they turned me back, I went and changed my jersey because I showed up already this summer and dressed up differently with my colleagues. And in the process, I slipped through because Thomas would like to hear this, you know, he's a wicked man. But one of my colleagues said the guy who taking the ticket, he has wear glasses, but he had a problem with an eye. Right? One of his eyes. Marathon Skippy Thomas, and that's a guy I grew up liking a lot. Even as counselor, we had the best relationship. So if you hear this about me now, forgive me. I really wanted to see the movie. And I did not meet the age requirement. Anyway, so one of my colleagues in front said, well, had explained before from outside, they're going on that side because you cannot go in from 2 sides, the left or the right. So they say they're going in from the left side because if you pass sharply on the left, he had to turn his whole face around to see it. So he can't pick you up with the left eye. So he said, what happened when presenting the ticket? You slip behind me, never see it. So I straight behind him. So if he passed, turn around, I just slipped through. And then I walked down and head straight to pit. It don't make sense going house. So anyway, because I want to know where a child like you get money to come here. So I go straight down to pit. Remember, this is youthful indiscretion, you listeners. Don't call me back any day and say, oh, I stoned it, you know. Or let me see the different side of it.
No,
Anyway.
you know what? No. That's not youthful indiscretion. That is the beginning of the politician.
Yeah. So I sit down in front now. So movie start, I get into my reversal, stiff neck position, and I'm watching the screen upwards. Now you had some other challenges. I told you that cinema had challenges. While you're looking up, it had rat and other rodents.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
What to attack your legs?
Oh God!
Yeah. So you had to put your legs up. Yeah, you had to put your leg up or get bottles like where people drink and rest your foot on top of them so it wouldn't be on the ground. It was most discomforting, you know. Or turn sideways if it was bench, you know. Or turn sideways if it had room and put your legs up on the bench and then you stiff neck position. So all kind of matrix to survive to watch this movie. Next thing I hear, cluck, 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 they're counting. I said, but they're counting? You know what they're doing? They're counting heads. So when they're done, they go outside. They would say they have they're over by 3 people. They're over by 3. In terms of who pay and who pay, you know, those wicked people come back and tell me, well, we know you couldn't pay because we wouldn't sell you a ticket. So come.
But the end, you see, crime does not pay.
Not looking to kill people. You know, they put me out.
Crime, so no, the lesson there is crime does not pay.
It doesn't.
That is the lesson there. But we didn't hear what David, you see, I can't help the South. My attachment to South,
Mm-hmm.
I can't, you know, it is my Naval Spring, Naval Spring kind of buried in there.
Yes.
And then there was a certain camaraderie. I think South people are, I don't know, it was different. Anyway, the point is, it is what it is. But that's not the topic today. They're 2 good topics. So I want to hear what you have to say, because I was one of the candidates. So your assessment of if you noted the process at all or got any, so what are your views on it? Because that would be a conversation even if I were not here.
Yeah, well, you know, when I heard of the other candidate, I wasn't really surprised to hear of another candidate, but the person who is going up now in that race for the leader of the PM.
Leadership of the party.
Yeah.
Leader.
You know, it was shocking because I haven't heard about those people for a long time. So they're like, it just popped up like a toast bread, you know. I didn't put in any bread in the toaster in the first place.
I hope it's burnt toast bread.
Yeah. And it popped up, so I said, okay, what could be the reason? I mean, there are people who are more in tune with what's happening now, people who are into the trending stuff. I mean, it's a long time I haven't heard about that person in particular. So I am wondering, so the conversation now is very interesting as to the reasons for that particular person. I mean, Richard was calling a few other names. I too was looking at some other names before I settled with. I think I can support Karen 100% based on what you keep saying.
Thank you, and I felt that, and I really did appreciate it, David. Yeah. Actually, I know I really felt that you did really support me, and I think that from me being on the show, I suppose you made an assessment of me. I think
yes,
yes. I felt genuinely felt your support, and we all know who are the name, or in particular the name that we thought was going to come up. Yeah, because we were told. I mean, we're not saying it's not true, because I was told it so many times. You all had to have been told. They were down on the ground speaking to party groups. Actually had a campaign manager, had put a structure in place. I could tell you that for sure, because I've had dialogue with, you know, persons associated. So I was really even surprised. And they're saying that the person had been working on the ground for quite some months, had been speaking with party groups, had put together a team and all of that. I mean, I don't think it's a secret. I think everyone knew that because the team they put together was going out and speaking and spoke to people, spoke to me, certainly spoke to me. And so that there was one in particular that was being put forward. And, you know, a lot of analysis as to, cost benefit, cost benefit, cost benefit. Why would they do it? So, you know, unfortunately, or fortunately, my political experience has taught me never to underestimate anyone. Never, never. And never underestimate them, and never think you know, because you have to think at a level that you have to take yourself at a level that you probably would not, and then think of what is strategic objective. So once you know what your strategic objective is, then you can work backwards. Now, when you start working backwards, then you make decisions about what you'll do. So that person that I think we all know, because it was out there. I mean, I was just so surprised how many people would come and say to me, yes, they have a campaign going, and they have, they're talking to party groups, and they have their campaign manager. I mean, every whole structure was in place. So I'm not saying anything. It could not be if it was not a secret to people, how could it not be a secret to the leadership of the party? It was not. Everybody seemed to have known, and this was going on for months. And so obviously the concern, which I won't want to go into too much because it's not for me to say who that person is, because I think we all know who it would have been. But the risk, there's a risk. And the risk may have been too high, because the risk may be high. But you know, you never know. You in politics, you never know what deals can be cut. I'm not talking about in this situation. Understand me with that. I am saying, when you analyzing something based on what is like magic, you know, you think this person is really doing something magical. They're not really doing that. You know, they're deflecting and distracting while they're doing something else. And the thing that they're doing is what you don't expect, which is why they're able to make you believe that it's magic. So in a way, in politics, you think at such a high level, and you have to think at such a high level in how you're approaching things. You don't try and in other words, your analysis cannot be a simple one. And I am saying that that person, I believe, as we know, to have gone to the point of forming party groups, talking to party groups, going down on the ground, talking to people, forming, having a campaign manager, having people backing you, and all of that in place, and in place for months, you know, was serious about doing it. How he or she was persuaded not to, well, I have some views on that, but I don't know the answer, and I can't share because I don't know the answer. But I know nothing is ever what it seems, and it's never as simple as you think it is.
Because I'm wondering, I haven't heard him as a commentator on what's happening in Trinidad, you know, comparing the past with now and how we can make it better for the future. You know, I haven't been hearing that person at all. So when the name jumped out now, I said, what is going on here, you know? Is this distraction? Is this a form of, like you say, splitting votes and all of that? Well, we'll see, because I don't think much people will share. I mean, if the individual is to mount a platform now, a lot of people might be saying, well, who is he? You know, unless he says his name. You know, the people, you know, I don't think people will connect to that brand of presentation as a person going up for the leadership. You know, the people expected somebody within the know, people that you know, people in the politics, even though if it's to be somebody strange, well, that will be a whole different ball game, because you'll be interested in knowing where they're coming from, what they're about, and all of that. But I mean, a name like that, it was bandied about back in the days. It was very, very quiet, I mean, dormant until now. So I'm wondering, okay, politics has a real different way of playing the game, you know. So I'm not too interested in somebody like that. I need to hear from a competitor, if I should put it like that, or the person who is challenging, anyhow you want to put it. I want to hear from them, and they must convince me that the issues are important. The issues of taking Trinidad to another level are important. I'm not into just put somebody there. You know, one time they say put a crap in a tire, people will vote. I mean, those were those comical kind of talk. And back in the day, talk. Now times are too serious now, and times are changing so rapidly right before our eyes. We need a thinker, somebody who can see through all of that. You know, and I don't want to listen to anybody on our campaign trail talking crap, if I should put it simple as that. Crap. You know, they talk about who do this and who did that. I don't think that is taking us anywhere at all, so I'm not into that at all. Once you're talking that, I'm switching off. You know, I need somebody to tell me, I am going to do this. I am going to try this. Let us try this. Let us band together and gel together and go forward as a team to achieve this. I need to hear that. Otherwise, I'm not listening.
And a person who has the interest of the man in the street, which makes up the vast majority.
That's right.
Who, in my view, have not been, you know, they almost, as I say, take cake, let them eat cake. There's been, and the disaffection now, the Prime Minister is feeling it. And so I don't want to say anything against the person who has off themselves. Time alone will tell. Time alone will tell, and we will see it. We'll see that it will work itself out. But what does Richard have to say on his assessment?
Richard?
Yeah, I think you have done a commendable thing. Yeah, I think you have done a commendable kind of thing. Yeah, I think you have done a commendable type of thing. Karen, I was just adjusting something here. Sorry,
I realize you're a little distracted. But also, when you speak about it, you know, I have as my chairman, going up for chairman is Ken Butcher.
Okay.
Oh.
So I think those are two key positions. You know, if you want to be strategic, I think, and trying to be strategic, which I try always to be, laser focused and strategic, always in the interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Absolutely, without a doubt. I think that's one thing over time I hope that people have come to know that is so. I'm not going to say I'm no coconut son, because when I said that the other day, I told my daughter, I said that, I said, I got me in so much trouble. I said, no coconut son. I said, Nicola, I should not have used that expression because they have some dirty minds that had a different interpretation. But so those are two important posts, that of the chairman and that of the party political leader of the party. And I think Ken Butcher is a very worthy and very, very competent person to be part of my small but strategic team, and committed. And by the way, he's now Dr. Ken Butcher. He now has his PhD. Yes, he does, as does his wife, Pat Butcher. She also has a PhD. So I think I have a fantastic, my small but fantastic lean and clean. Yes, I have to call it lean and clean. Yes, Richard, you got it sorted out, because I know you're under a lot of distractions and fulfilling your obligations to one or two. And today was a little tough for me, but I tell people, doesn't matter nomination in Chagonas, rain falling, flooding, whatever else they want me to do. I said, I have to be home in my house to be ready to go on 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I said, whatever going on in my life, this is an obligation I have made, and I'm going to stick to that obligation.
Great.
No, that is true though, I'm not joking. I'm very serious about that,
Yeah, I've realized that too.
No,
Yeah, I'm very serious about
we
that.
believe that, and we realize that also, and that is true. Because you are quite a busy person, a lot to do, and yet still you make the time to be here at this time. So, and we have always been pleased to have you on since you have come on, and you have
I'm
made
pleased to be here.
some major contributions. So much so that people outside there, I can imagine how many of them lining up to support it, because they get a different take of Karen. They see a side of Karen that they believe could lead them to help them, move through the difficulties that they have been faced with in this country. From 2010 to now, nothing has changed. Some people feel it has gotten worse. I think it has gotten worse. I think the economy today is worse than where it was in 2015. People may want to debate that, but I'll tell you, in 2015, no one was feeling the hurt as they're feeling it now. And you can't tell me after 7 years of you trying to fix something that is unfixable, that you couldn't do something. Because first of all, when I said that, telling the people that they will fix the economy, you can't do that. No country can fix the economy. The economy going to be either be growing or contracting. It's going to be going up and down, up and down. So how are you fixing that? And for the last 7 years, the Prime Minister been telling people about this nonsensical talk, but they had to fix the economy and they had to fix the economy. That was just another way of telling people, I ain't giving you nothing, I ain't doing nothing for you. Because you're trying to tell them you're fixing something you know you can't fix. But you're telling them, so why are you telling them it? You're telling them it. To tell them you have nothing to get. Because I'm not going to concentrate on you until I fix the economy, and that is an impossible task. So, and you have been doing it for much too long. But then you have come along and you have explained to the people of our country how things could have been different, how the focus could have been different, how you could have moved the poor people, how the focus of a government should be to concentrate on the people who need government support, backing, and the government service. And that the government has been concentrating in one place. And that place is among a few set of people who have so much money they can't spend it in their lifetime. And yet still they're the ones fighting and chasing behind to give money. As you said, like he's seeking validation at the expense of the rest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So people heard your message. I've heard it too. I'm touched by your message. I wish you all the best. And I said, and I'm saying it again, from this platform and any other platform I go on, and I may have to go on other platforms to help drive the point home, to support this lady, to make sure Dr. Rowley does not win again, right? I mean, we must make no mistake about that. You see, the country cannot afford to continue to be run on the basis of nonsensical talk, stupid talk, and foolish talk. You need somebody who coming in there to press forward, to really turn things around. Like the other day, everybody talked about coal pot and this and how the government sounds so insensitive and foolish. When he realized the kind of licking he was getting, he said, microphone problems.
No, I don't believe you. I must be don't read some things.
We were hearing them clearly. There was no distortion.
No.
Who asked him about microphone?
He really said that?
He said yes, they had microphone problem.
Oh no!
Now he must be trying to be cute, But they had no micro. He doesn't even have the belly to come out and tell people, we apologize, we got it wrong, we were sensitive, and be straight and candid with the people. You come out and just like when you say, Imbert say, no riot yet. Remember that?
Yeah, of course, nobody can forget that. And they haven't rioted as yet.
And they haven't rioted as yet. People start to cuss them. He'll come out and says, leader, it was a situation of bad bedside manners. No, I don't know what that meant in relation to what Imbert said. He was talking, he was putting somebody to sleep. I don't know.
That's the kind of language in the bedroom.
I mean, it's just downright, let me put straightforwardly, downright stupid talk. Nonsensical talk. You can't even come and say I disagree with him, but he had no right to say that. We're going to have a meeting with him. That type of thing.
That is true. That is very true.
Bedside manners. Okay, we don't know what that means.
True.
It sounds cute. But full stop.
true.
But after I say it, you use that to break the ice. You say, I'm going to meet with the minister and we're going to discuss it. And,
That is
you
true.
know, I would
That
anticipate
is
in
true.
the future that type of thing would
That
be
is
again.
true.
His beginning and end. Well,
It's true.
I see it as a situation of bad bedside manners and he move on.
That is true.
I mean,
That is
come
very
on,
true.
and we must take that for governance in this country.
That
Listen,
is true.
to give you 5 more years, you're going to
Yes,
be
that
40
is true.
something in Parliament. All you want, Dr. Rowley, he going to be older than the majority of the people alive in this country. In the context, you're going to spend more time in Parliament than most of the people who are alive in this country today. Most of the people in this country alive today in our population are 40 and under.
Yes,
right?
true.
Guys, you millennials.
Yes.
And he was in Parliament longer than they are alive. And you want to continue to share old talk to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? That's why I say if I had to mount other platforms, if I had to take money out my pocket, if I had to get a donkey cat and go around the place with a public address system to tell them, don't put back that loose mouth, man, wasting our time. So that's why I had to say, Karen.
Okay, but I want to say one thing too, Dua, because I think I have to be careful in terms of I've been asked it many times, and by the way, I think the media coverage of me has been fairly balanced and fair. I have to say that. I have to say that. You know, there will be one or two, but that's how it is. But it has been fairly balanced. But what we must not allow them to ask for me to do is a bit to mix up being leadership of the party as opposed to government, because that's what they want me to mix them up and say what she feels she be prime minister and she this and she that and she must remember she's going up for the party leadership. So what I have answered and what I will continue to answer in regard to that, any house needs a good foundation. And if I have to look at this house called the PNM, the Balize house, I will say the house has a lot of cracks. Maybe that's why they're building it over. I'm not too sure where they're getting all the funds from, and that in itself is worrisome. But they don't answer to you because they answer to who they answer. They don't answer to anyone. That's part of their problem. So what I want to say in regards to my rule, because I don't want to be for anyone to corner me or try to put me into a corner as though I am going there to fight Keith Rowley. Clearly, I don't believe in his leadership. Clearly, I see that the government, we're paying the price, but that it doesn't start there. It starts from the party itself, because it is the party machinery and how you structure the party machinery and how things are done at the party level that gives you a good idea. Because we are not, as I tell other people, we are not a tennis club or a golf club, or we are not, in other words, an organization that the only objective is the club. The objective is to get into government. So before you can build that house, you've got to make the foundation a good foundation. And for the foundation to be a good one, you have to be able to attract people to want, because once you can attract people who want to say, you know what, I want to be part of that party. I want to be part of that party, because I am seeing from what the leadership of Mrs. Tesheira in the party is doing. I feel that when it is time to vote, that we feel that we can believe in PNM. Now, can we believe in the current leadership? Well, that's the different story. So we believe in the leadership. So I want to make it very clear that is what I'm dealing with. And I don't know if you saw the letter, but I wrote a letter and it was written about asking pertinent questions concerning the internal electoral process. And I did it because the time was drawing very near. And I did it because I didn't want people to be said, you're grumbling afterwards, you're making noise. What's you making noise afterwards? You have to make it before. You wait until the horse is bolted to go and complain. So I wrote a letter. Did you know I wrote a letter? I wrote a letter. Yes. Okay. And in the letter to Mr. Roberts, I must give him the great, he did the right thing. And I saw him today and I told him that myself. I said, he did the right thing by responding. Now, he would not have, I think he wasn't happy that I went and made it an open letter. But you see, making an open letter helped him to give me an open answer. because it wasn't going to help the electorate or any of us very much if I said, he said, and then when he come out of the meeting, he didn't say that, I didn't say that, and we have gotten nowhere. So one of the things that I don't think he has satisfied, certainly not me, and I don't think person should be satisfied, and which speaks to this whole even last minute throwing in Mr. Boynes, that last minute kind of, that kind of strategy, I mean, all of that. Do we want to keep on with that narrative for the government? First? So what I had asked, the first question is, which he answered, but I don't think he really answered it, because he's saying, no, we just added one more day. We always had a special day for voting for special voters, so we already added one more day. But guess what? The one more day you added is on the 4th of December. Way 26 and 27, and if it is on the 4th of December that the process or the electoral process would then have come to end, because you're allowed to vote on the 4th of December. On the 4th of December, it's not just the convention, you are allowed to vote. So the voting process continues from the 26th of November, 27th, with a big gap in between until the 4th of December. So it is not true to say we just added one. You have effectively made 9 days, because you have made the process a 9-day process, right? And I have not gotten an explanation for that 9-day process. That's number one. Number two, in his response, it always due respect to Mr. Roberts about the storage of the you're just going to tell me it's going to be stored safely? Am I going to believe that? Listen, when we have an election, national election in this country, it is done by an independent body under the Constitution called the Election Boundaries Commission, right? That is an independent body who has to safeguard the boxes, who makes sure that the boxes are taken from the polling stations, and there are cars following those boxes until they reach where their destination for counting and they're represented. You telling me a party election over which you are supervising, over which you are going to have the boxes in your possession, you are going to tell me that they're safe? How you expect me to really accept that to be a reasonable answer? Don't you understand that people will feel a sense of unease and discomfort? That the same person and the boxes on your possession, the very same person who might be inclined because they want you to do the process. So it means that the Prime Minister and the leadership has confidence in you all taking care of the interest of their interest. It has to be that. You can't help but think that is it. And the last part, which I found the most absurd, and I didn't call the name of the person because I have a lot of respect for him. But I did call because 1 minute somebody telling me the registration closed off because plenty of people want to vote. Of course, when they know that plenty of people want to vote, they feel the plenty of people who want to vote in internal election is because they want to vote out. They don't want to vote for him. But what is wrong with that in a way? Because if that is going to determine the party leadership, then in a way it is determining your national leadership. And that is the process. So the fact of the matter, people don't know. It's unclear. So some people say 2-3 months. So I spoke to the person. And now in this letter, they're saying, they told us since August the 13th, they told let me get it. They said that since August the 13th, they had been closed off. And I'm just trying to find exactly where he said when they closed off the list. But who knows that? Who knows that? Who knows that? Who knows that special store? Oh, with respect to new members, information circulated to constituencies. Is it only constituencies? Is the all of us in Trinidad and Tobago? Constituencies circulated, explain clearly that only membership application received by August 24, 2022 could be considered. Who knew that? You have a Ministry of Digitalization, your government of the party, but they have a Ministry of Digitalization. We have social media. We have all kinds of ways. When you want to get a message out, If you wanted what you only want certain people to vote, or don't you want to increase your registrants? Do you want not to increase the base of the party? Do you not want to attract more people into the party so that at the end of the day it will reflect in the national elections? You telling me you told the constituency August the 24th. Well, that was a good, and that speaks. I am very, very sorry. It speaks to the problem that the government is having today, which is that people do not have the confidence in their transparency, their openness, their accountability, and their willingness to take responsibility for what they do. Who but they knew August the 24th, 2022? Huh?
And what you're seeing here is, go on.
No, but what I'm trying to say really, and I'm Mr. Roberts, Auntie Roberts, you know I have nothing against you. We were colleagues in a way for some time in government. So this is not directed at you. It's not directed at anybody there whom I have a lot of respect. But I'm not foolish. I have learned enough about humankind. Enough, I can assure you of that. I can assure you of that. I have learned enough of what you see is not always what you get. Do not ever allow yourself to be seduced or to be lulled into a sense of complacency, because yes, that person may be a good person in many ways, but don't you ever underestimate a person or organ. And what I am saying, the whole cloak of secrecy, as far as I am concerned, that you are let constituency, what nonsense is that? So you do not want, I thought, I may be wrong, but I thought one of the reasons you had the party therefore was to increase its membership. I thought you wanted the more members you could attract, the more better chances you have of winning a national election. I thought the reason for the party was not to have to play golf or play tennis or to do charity work, which could be part of its functions. I'm nothing wrong with that. But I thought it had a major objective of going forward to win a national election. I thought that was what it was. I thought the more persons you could attract to the party, the more your chances of being successful. But apparently, you only want a certain kind of registrant, and you seem to want to buy these kind of, and they could say what they want, these kind of, subtle but not so subtle maneuverings. Tell me that you're not transparent, you are not open, and that is why today you suffer from a lot where people do not trust you, do not have confidence in you, and now what worse yet, they feel as though you have no respect, you're treating them as if they are nothing. And that is what you can't help yourself, you're giving yourself away, because it's like, you know what it is? Like when one get a message, the other one is a cold pot, one is a bicycle, one is ham and macaroni. I mean, it's only because the backlash was so hard. The backlash was so hard that you decided to pay attention. Otherwise, you wouldn't worry with them. So leave them alone. Worry with them. They go quiet down. Wait for something new and they'll quiet down. That's the disrespect. Disrespect. And finally, one thing I have to say, because I don't want anybody to understand me. Yes, because this is important to my messaging. My messaging is not about keeping people on subsidies. My message is not to close down those who have gotten well the right way. If you've gotten well the right way, if you have contributed to the productivity and the wealth of the country in the right way, we are happy, because you're creating jobs and good high value jobs, and you're helping families to grow and so on. So we're happy, and we will applaud you, and we want to support you. You've gotten a lot of support. What we're saying is that the middle class is eroding, and the large bulk of our community is living off of subsidies or involved in activities that are not good. So my message is not about subsidies. My message is entrepreneurship. I've already laid out what I think must be done. I do not think I am indulging in, it's not to happen in a year. It takes time, but if people have confidence in you, they will. And for one thing, I will just say, if with all those detractors, in regard to what happened with CL and Kiko, You may forget, but throw your minds back. We were in a global financial crisis. Every day in the big countries, yes, those big developed countries, big companies like Lehman Brothers, big financial institutions were going under. Were going under. The car industry was going under. Iceland's economy had crashed. This was a recurring nightmare for the developed world. And every day you were reading about lines outside of banks, lines outside of different institutions. So what I am saying to you is this, that when I put myself forward with all humility, with all love for my country, undying love for my country, I want to say to you, it is because I believe that I have something to offer, and it is never ever for anyone to see that I am fighting a party to which I am a lifetime member, of which I am proud to be a member, of which I believe its aims and objectives and I believe in it. And I want people to understand that what my message and my objective today is to let us have a breath of fresh air and hopefully have people feel a sense of assurance, a sense of equity, perhaps that they may not be feeling, but it certainly is not and will never be about fighting the PNM.
Well, I'll tell you, Karen, first of all, what you are seeing, one is Mr. Boynes, and the first one had to do with love in office. We're seeing some of it would be the effects of being in love with office. So they cannot restrain themselves, they can't help themselves. They will do anything to hold on because the party is the vehicle again to government. Right? You lose the party, you lost government at the next turn of the election period. So they're not going to give that up. And the people whom you said he was seeking validation with, they intend to buckle up with him and carry him through to that time. It's one and the same. And that's the fight. It surprises me that how I felt about him before and how I see him now, how disappointing that feeling is. The way I felt about him before, I could have never believed he, of all persons, would have put himself in this position. Where so many people in the country don't want you. They don't like you. They're on the road. They've seen all kinds, some of the worst signs they ever saw before, and you still trying to hold on to power. He's the kind who came across, as people said, arrogantly. I felt would I say, well, anytime it came to that, he will take up his bag and walk away. Man, look in the hold on, You trying to lead people who do not want you to lead them. You could believe that? This is amazing stuff, The country don't want you to lead them, and the people they talk to in the party, they don't want you to lead them. So what has happened now? It appears as though they have doctored the election process. Because a 9-day gap you're talking about. I mean, if you can't have transparent election in the party, why should the party expect transparent election for a general election or a local election? You see, they tend to sow things they don't know. When you do this, in the future, when another party gets in, and if it appears as though they're in bed with the EBC, if it appears that way, we can't talk, We'll be able to talk because we're against it now. But those who are there, they wouldn't be able to say anything. The first thing people will tell them, when you all did it in your party and it was right then and all, you saw nothing wrong. Well, nothing wrong now. All you saw it right then and all, you felt it was good. Why it can't be good now? It was good then because it was in your interest. It was in favor of you. But now because you believe what happening now may not be in favor of you, the same thing you did there, you're seeing it as wrong. The next thing I'll tell you about Boynes is this. You say he has been planted there. Well, the test is coming now. Let's hear what he has to say about this internal process. I was there before, I ran. Let me tell you. If he comes out and says...
For what position?
Assistant General Secretary. If he comes out and he says he had no problem with this process, well, the fix is it. The idea behind that was for him to come and say that so you would look like you're complaining, you're unstable, that kind of thing. I am not running, and I'm telling them, if he wins under that system, he will not be recognized by me, and I remain a member of the PNM. He will not be recognized by me, and I'm certain many other people. as a legitimate leader of the People's National Movement. I'm disappointed in his leadership and his leadership style, but today I recognize and acknowledge him as the leader. But if he goes to the election with that system as it is, which did not elected him in the first place, we come up with this one now to help him return to the position of leader. If that happens, he will not be acknowledged or recognized by me as leader again. You see, this is interfering now with decency and discipline, because you're asking people to watch what appears to be apparent potential wrongdoing and embrace it. That's what you're asking us to do, you know. This could be absolutely potentially corrupt. It is more likely to be corrupt than anything else. And you're asking us now to embrace that. He will not embrace that system if the EBC pay him to do so. He won't do it. He'd say crazy, he'd be all over it, see his head, he'd be sweating. All over the place. He will be telling you about Jai Jacks and where barley grow. He will tell you all kind of things and where the monkey put the nuts. And Jesus, the mouth will be unleashed on the country. It would be unleashed on the country. And
never heard some of those sayings. I'll learn something
that's right.
Money,
I will back him.
Monkey with that.
If the EBC comes and tells him that the system they're running and it causes him to behave that way, I want to tell you I wouldn't be too far behind anymore. Because he'll be right. It is a system to reject. So then why try to implement that into the internal elections? I expect of him to put his hand up and say, no, I was not elected under that system before, and I will not put myself through a system like that. It does not convey what you will call a transparent election process. It does not do that. And that's what you expect from somebody like him. For him to embrace this, well, I want to tell you, all that we think about him and what we saw on the shift, well, I can tell you he gone deep south now. I mean, and that's...
Nobody talks out too much, huh?
No, not
you know, Daddy Mark, you know, you can't talk, but we know what you mean.
No, he's not speaking geographically.
Yes, we're not speaking
geographically, not in that context.
Yes. No, not literally, as my grandson loves to tell me, not literally.
Yes. So this is figuratively.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am saying, I don't believe they'll go ahead with that system. The people in the party say Ken Butcher is your chairman. He understands the PNM.
Yes,
put him out there as your chairman to start to heat up the place on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to. Well, I hope so. He had to be on all the talk shows and everything, and tell him come on between Tuesday and Thursday. I'll entertain him. Let him come and we will create that opening for him. Butcher has always been a decent fella. Bring him and put him on. We give him the platform here to highlight to the people everything that is wrong with that system. And I'm saying it here today. Dr. Rowley, if he wasn't the leader, I doubt he would have subjected himself to that system. Right? So why do it now? Why do it now? You are telling the people, in effect, by doing that, I want to lead all you know, but I don't think all want me lead all
yeah, but you know,
come up with something to produce the outcome anyway. Whether they want me or not, I will be on the leader. Come on.
Yeah, Richard, you know something though,
should be transparent, open. You know, that cannot be. Anthony Roberts is a fine man, you know.
He is such a lovely man.
I like him. But I do know how politics happen. Anthony might be sleeping when those bucks grow legs, you know. You understand?
Magic happens. Magic happens.
Yeah.
You know what you
those bucks should walk down the road and come back, and they'll come back heavier than the left.
But what do you think? We're making fun, but we know I do like Anthony Roberts. He's such a decent.
Listen, when you talk about decent,
so
Anthony Roberts,
clearly, truly,
that.
Yes, I really find, we have to say that. So what I really want to say too is that, you know, we must be mindful, we must be mindful that the PNM has been the longest party in office from the very beginning as us as a nation, even before we became a nation, when Eric Williams was chief minister. So there is a legacy attached to the PNM that has gone through at least one or two generations. And so if you recognize that, it comes like a family. And sometimes within a family, we may know that somebody in the family is doing something wrong and or it's not the right thing. But because we feel this sense of loyalty or obligation, we turn our head or we ignore it or whatever. We even criticize those who criticize it. But you see, when we do that, and that's the problem, it catches up with us. Because at some point in time, the same thing that you were not willing to address, and the same thing that creates anxiety and creates that sense of discomfort and unease, is the very same thing that if you do not take steps, maybe a part of it is the lawyer in me, and my colleague here with his Bachelor of Law will understand that sometimes you see the principles being taken because the law understands the power of a precedent. So it is not that I or any of the membership, anyone that is supporting me, including Richard, and I know David from the Caribbean, it's not about Karen Tesheira. Karen Tesheira could stay home, write articles, was supposed to write another book on family law just for the children. I had all the notes there. And I'm sure if I do it, they won't. And some people tell me, well, go and do it now. But I've written 3 books. I've gotten the satisfaction of hopefully making that type of contribution. And so at this point in time, it's not about making and demonizing anybody and anybody feeling that, oh, how she could say that? No, no, no. You have to step back a little bit and see maybe, just maybe, that when she's speaking out, she's speaking out because she's seeing the things that are not right. And if we do not address them, we will find ourselves in a situation backed into a corner out of which we cannot come. You look at history. You can think of examples in history, which I don't need to call, right? But there are many examples in history where we see something is not right. But for whatever reason, we stay silent. We say, no, we convince ourselves, oh, it's not that bad. And they rely on you doing that. That's part of the whole thing. They rely on your silence. They rely on your being unwittingly part of the process until one day you wake up and then you say to yourself, oh my God, I should have seen through this. So it's nothing about Karen Nunez Tesheira saying this. It's Karen Nunez Tesheira hopefully trying to bring more democracy, more transparency, more accountability, not just words that we use, but words that we walk and talk it and walk it. And I hope that many of you who listen and are listening, I want to tell you now that when I was first approached, I said immediately, I'm going to tell you straight out, don't bring any money to me that I'm not going to be able to take. Don't bring any money to me that I cannot take. I said, because at the end of the day, my credibility and the confidence people have in me, I would have thrown it away. And that is a great injustice to people. Don't bring me anyone on the team that you have concerns about. Because if you do that, it goes to my credibility. And it then makes people even more disenchanted. And they say, don't worry, look at her. She came on there and she's talking all this talking about this and talking about that. But when you put it there, she's the same thing. No, I understand why people may want to go down that road, but I want to assure them that when I was approached, I said to them, I want no money that I cannot account for or from any source that where I will feel a discomfort. And I also said, I want no one on my team, which is why I'm so happy to have Ken Butcher, because I have all the regard, and I have my campaign manager, Peter Taylor. I have persons, I believe, on my team that have Trinidad and Tobago's interests at heart, have the political experience. Peter was in cabinet with me. He has worked hard in Moruga on the ground. And Ken Butcher has a story that Dr. Ken Butcher can tell you about how much involvement he has had in the party from UTT. We can go on and on. And what we all have in common. Yes, and not only that, it's not only paying his dues. It's the
Yeah.
people that you want around you, that
Yeah.
you believe are talking your talk. And so that at the end of the day, we will live up to what we say that we say we are.
I agree. Anything I could do to support your slate, I would. And I wish
I
them all
know,
the
man.
best. It would be a
I know.
day, yeah. Uh,
Yeah, but like,
you know how
listen,
long
I
I
have to
make
get
coffee?
your, you have an
You
old
know how
car?
long I make
Have an
coffee?
old car?
People always make coffee for me. I want to say to the leader, if you win, I'm making coffee for myself. You know?
What is, I already see you drinking something, you know. Daddy Mark
No,
David,
no,
you see,
what's
you
coming
don't
close? I was
notice.
drinking
You know, he
some
was
we call
drinking
it.
something.
What's your
Don't
red drink?
worry.
Sorrel, sorrel,
Don't worry, don't
sorrel.
worry, don't worry, don't worry. It's okay.
Yeah.
We with them, but we're not drinking anything, and you're not sharing, but it's okay.
You have this one telling you about you trying to drink champagne with Moby pockets. Listen, get rid of this.
You know, that is so many people. That's true of so many people. Eh? They have
If
more money,
people
but they have
really, if
champagne
people
face.
in our party really go and put back those people in those positions, I want to tell them, however they hang, they swing after we. You have to be crazy.
But
You have to be
absolutely,
crazy. Yeah.
yes. And don't let them frighten you, because you know, one of the things, strategies
And
they
I tell them
use
since
is a kind
2015,
of,
where that group is concerned, I don't
huh?
want anything from them. So I have nothing to do with being afraid. I never ask them for anything.
No, I'm talking about
I
the
am the
little
one who
man, the
bail out
little
and say I
man, the
want
little man.
nothing.
You know, the little man. You remember when I was an MP too, and you know they brought me a group of men, one of whom, anyway, I don't want to give too much detail, but it's some people that you would not want to be associated with, which I couldn't quite understand why you're bringing them to me. I mean, have I not made myself clear to you? Have I not? You think I'm just saying it? I mean it, and brought this group of men, and basically what they could help me with. What they could help me with? I just talked to them nicely, and the person that brought them to me, I said, but don't do that again, because I'm not getting myself involved in any kind of activity that is not above board. For those same people to go to the next side and say, you know what Tesheira doing, and by the way, which happened, which I unfortunately found out afterwards. That's why I don't have too many illusions about politics. But thank God I ran my constituency office above board, and all I did was above board. I should come and give you 2 of the documents, send it to you, the work I did in the 2.5 years that I was there. And I don't know if you know this, because I want to show that I'm not just talking the talk, I can walk it. Kevin Baldwin, for reasons best known to himself, wrote a short article saying all kinds of horrible, critical things about me. And then the very, very next week came out an article saying that they had done a poll of the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, and the most popular and number one, even beating out Jack Warner, was Karen Nunez Tesheira, because people believed in her. But you see, there were forces that were against me that obviously, there were forces against me. So you cannot
Karen, the forces
underestimate what
against you is
people.
none of your business. Forces against you is none of your business. That's their business. You go ahead with your message.
Absolutely. But what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is, it is a good lesson. It is a good lesson. So that among many other lessons, so people that are listening, I committed. I don't have on rose glass tinted glasses. I understand. I think what I'm up about more than they think that I know. I'm far more apprised of what I am up about than they may think that I know. But what I do know is that I am committed to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That is my commitment. That is my commitment. There's nothing they could offer me, which I think they know that now. There's nothing. I don't want anything, and I don't want any invitations.
I don't have anything, and I don't want anything from them.
Either.
Imagine a man with nothing rejecting anything from them. I have none, and I don't want anything from them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes,
Here what I want from them. I want to see them go home. They have they have killed out our people. Crime.
Yes, that is the hard thing.
I'm telling you, crime, I show you over 460 murders by now. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, you know what they did with the advisory from the American advisory. Now, from the opposition, a doctor, he seemed always to be on the ball with information. He said that, and I went and looked at what tier 2 and tier 4 meant. He said that tier 1 says it's good. You don't have to worry. You could go to a travel advisory. That's a country that's safe. Tier 2 says you need to be careful. Tier 4 says don't go near there at all. Tier 4, don't go there at all. So what the U.S. Embassy came out and said in response to, I think it was, I don't remember Dr. Griffith. I can't remember, it's not Dr. Griffith. I can't remember the name. I apologize. He said that the travel advisory said we are at tier 2 and tier 4. Now, the U.S. government rightfully said that they had reissued that travel advisory consequent on COVID-19. But if you read all the things that they tell you to be afraid of, after they talk about COVID, they tell you don't go in the street, do not walk alone, every single thing that has to do with crime and danger. And the point that that was being made was that there has been no change in the level at which the United States has warned visitors coming to Trinidad. They say Port of Spain is a no. You go in Port of Spain, the savannas, as they call it, the whole of Port of Spain. You go in Port of Spain, you're looking to dead. Not to die, to dead, right? And yes, they didn't look to die, but they didn't say that, of course. But I'm saying, and what I think the point he was trying to make is we have not moved from those tiers of tier 2. So it just goes to show that this government has failed to deal with the crime. And
Karen, they have failed to deal with anything that could positively impact the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They failed to fix the Forex. I had to go in the drag mall, outside the drag mall, to pay people about $840, $500 bill the other day I live in the country. I mean, come on.
That's how people,
that's how you have to, because I got some Forex economy. And to get more, that's what I had to do before I travel. But they fixed it.
Not something?
Jawala, who they had a problem with, they had to pay one set of money. They can't put it in the public domain. They're hiding that.
Isn't that true? They have to pay one set of money.
Somebody else from the Border Inland Revenue came to court, he lost. You understand? He appealing it now. But I mean, we fed up with these people. I am telling you, we fed up. The country fed up with these people. They have disturbed the mental conditioning of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They have messed up the psyche of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Everywhere you turn, you know, they told the people, Karen, go and buy your own pitch. Go and buy your own pitch. You must go and buy pitch. I mean, Jesus Christ, my Father in heaven. You must go and buy your pitch and fix the road in front by you. Then one telling you again about
the way they deliver the message.
Their behavior. Send them home. Daddy Mac, would you like to see Dr. Rowley emerging as a leader again after this election?
No. That can't work at all.
But I'm telling you.
David and Richard, may I just interject before you all shut me off at exactly 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
May I just say this?
Karen, take the rest of the time.
No, I don't need the rest of the time. But I do need to say this.
Yeah.
Because you're speaking very passionately and you're speaking about how people really feel. And it's on the news. I mean, it's in the papers. I mean, there's no hiding it. It's not just anecdotal, somebody down the road. I mean, it's everywhere. And listen, of all kinds, you know, I'm talking about people who you would say are COP, if you understand what I mean. People who you think would be the born and bred in PNM. Everywhere you go, get rid of that man, you know. You gotta get rid of that man, you know. You had enough of him. Oh God, Mrs. Tesheira, everywhere I go, I'm not joking. But what we have to do, we have to be strategic. Richard, you are a CEO of a company. You understand strategy, and you have been in the belly of politics. We cannot get to step 2 until we deal with step 1. So the order of business right now is that we need to speak to get people to vote in the internal election, because if we are not successful in step 1, will eat the bread the devil needs. So people know step 2 already. They know that is why they want change. I don't think you have to do much convincing about the wanting the change. What you have to make people understand, you're not going to magically get to there unless you do the step 1. So if it's one time in your life that you said, you know what, I care about my children's future. I care about my grandchildren's future. And I know from what I see, if we continue this way, that our country is truly a lost country. So you are getting a chance, unless if you didn't register before August the 22nd, or whatever the date was, which apparently every week was kept as a nice secret, although they won't say that, they won't say that, but that's effectively what it is. If you do not stain your finger and say you want a change of political leader and you want a change of chairman, those are the posts that can really make a difference to the foundation of the party, and at the very end, deal with the issues that are being outlined here. But we need you to take your step, and it is you whom, if you feel that there is a need for change, if you feel that we need to do something about what is happening, let us get that foundation. Let's fix the foundation, because it's cracking. As a matter of fact, it probably cracked so much they had to build over the house. And it's a bigger, it's looking like a much bigger house. But the point is, like, the house couldn't stand up anymore. It is almost what you can call, it's almost a metaphor then. When things like that happen, you see it as a metaphor for life. It is not it's something one considers. Balize House, the very foundation of the People's National Movement. Something is wrong with the house. Something is wrong, because you could have renovated. You have done that with Stallmeyer Castle. You did that with the president's house. You did that with Red House. So I would have thought, I love that you kept the heritage buildings. I love that you kept our history alive. So you could have done something with Balize House, but you realized it's in such a bad state that you had to break it right down.
Karen, look at the Red House. The Red House was in a terrible condition. Balize House wasn't that bad. We spent $450 million to do over the Red House. You couldn't rebuild Balize House just as it was. You can renovate it.
Yes,
you
and keep it true.
And you went and do all.
But you wanted to wipe out. You see what he wanted to do, in my respectful view, is wipe out all the former prime ministers, that legacy, because Balize House is not in your back street. Balize House stands strong and proud at a corner with the sign of the, you see it, you can't miss it. And by knocking it down, every piece of it down, you have wiped out the generations of prime ministers, the founding members of the Balize House, to create a shrine in your name. That's what I see it as.
Yeah. And
I see it like that.
If he has any legacy at all, it have positive and negative legacy, as we said.
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
If he had to have any positive legacy that he's thinking about, he's thinking that he could sell, that after all the years Balize House is standing up, none of them saw the need to fix it. Well, he break it down and fix it to give the members something better. Don't be surprised to hear next. He's telling all you and all of us
going to say that
he want to finish the job. He want to see the job completed. So that we must put you back as leader to suffer us so you can see a building complete.
No, but you see, you understood the power of history, because if that was the way he thought, then he would have broken down President's House, which they say was leaking all over the place. He would have broken down Meal Fleur, but he knows the value of history. He knows the value for every country that has to have its icons, has its statue, has its buildings for the next generation. And what he did in one fell swoop, I'm very sorry to say that, Prime Minister, but it seems to me a vanity project. It seems to me that you wanted to wipe out in one fell swoop a generation of prime ministers, starting with the founder of Balize House, to create something that is, I can see no trace of that Balize House. And so you want to wipe the slate absolutely clean, so that anytime it's in the past there, that is what Prime Minister Keith Rowley did. But I want to say, it's really, if that is, I hope that's not your intention, but that is how it is coming across. And
Karen,
unfortunately,
if that is what happens, then it will mean there's nobody to replace what was wiped out. Because after wipe out those, you just have to put 0.
but let me ask you, did you ever ask yourself where the money coming from?
I have questioned myself on that. I have had conversations with me on that, and I'm yet to come up with the answers.
Maybe you will tell us.
Conversation.
Yeah, where that money come from? Because
I have no idea. Like I can tell you, it's not a little bit. It's not a little bit. And I can't remember buying any tickets for barbecue or cake sale. Nothing. Can't remember.
Listen now, you want barbecue things. Listen now, those tickets are
Karen, a few years ago, they couldn't even put hampers for him to go out to give out. I funded all the hampers, right? And they get all this money now just, Jesus Christ, come on.
Okay, I don't want you to cut me off, so I'm cutting off myself.
We have a
have a good evening.
They're not harsh. They're just, but I want to say this.
No.
Dr. Rowley has been the least effective prime minister we ever put out from the PNM. Okay. The least effective.
David,
yes,
Ruben.
Yes.
David, Ruben. We don't talk, but Ruben is sending out a hands up to you. And of course, Melissa, wonderful, always reliable. And Richard, I say good evening. And we had a wonderful conversation.
And Karen, you go forward into the future
so much.
And do what you must, according to what Jesus told Judas. But not in that context. You are Jesus to deal with the other fella. All right, God, take it easy, Karen. Let go. I don't want them to remove your face, though. That is too much of a lovely face. Stay right there, David. Take a picture.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay, folks, take a stay. We're coming back with the news at 6.
And hold on for the news, Daddy Mac.
Yeah, okay.